time to introduce our last speaker of the meetup now. Heitor Lessa is a principal solutions architect in the AWS Developer Acceleration team covering EMEA. He has spent the last 14 years in various roles focusing on IT infrastructure, cloud operations, business development, developer tooling, and modern application development. Super impressive. Let's welcome Heitor to the stage. As soon as I figure out how to do it. Yes, there he is. He appears. It's really challenging doing it alone, you know. Like I keep thinking I'm messing something up. Too many screens, too much going on. I'm happy to have you here, Heitor.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. In fact, It's hard to go right after Jan and Alex. They're such a good friends, and then I'm actually right after. I have to raise the bar somehow.
You fit right in. So Heitor is joining us from his new house close to The Hague. So this is why you're seeing this new house deco. Always
Indeed.
At first.
Indeed. The question that John had on the local stack, if we have like, I think I can finish early. If I can finish early, I'm happy to answer that local stack if John still's around.
Yeah.
On the integration test.
Great idea. Everything is coming together. All right. I can see your screen in here already.
Okay.
Prepared. Okay. Take it away, Heitor.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Heitor Lessa. I'm a principal solutions architect at AWS. I've been here for nearly 9 years now. Been doing serverless since 2016-ish. And this talk is all about something called Lambda Powertools. There's not going to be any slides. I'm going to be as quick as I can because I'm also conscious of your time. And this talk begins by talking about Well-Architected. In 2017, we launched something called Serverless Lens, which essentially was a collection of all the common practices we've seen working with customers that were beta tested with multiple customers across the globe. So those practices were written initially by me and 3 other friends, and then that kept being up to date every year until last year. In 2020, we launched this into the console. It was great to have as a white paper, but the challenge was, how do I benchmark my application, my serverless application, against these practices? I would like to have a review. I would like to have a report, for instance, of all my workloads. What am I missing? What should I be doing instead? What are some very specific practices depending on the questions we are asking? The paper was more detailed, trying to get into, I assume you know nothing about serverless, and I'm going to guide you through what possible architectures can be done in serverless back in 2017 until 2020. And what are some of the architectures that there's no way, you have to use a mix of serverless and non-serverless services, or traditional in that case. So in 2020 and then 2021, we launched this into the console, which looks more or less like this. If you were to go to the console, you would see Well-Architected as a service or a tool. And by creating a new application there or workload, you would be able to access these questions and each of those best practices. There's plenty in there, and this has been used already by over 10,000 customers. And this is how customers have an idea of what are the practices. And we're trying to not get into, you're using Java, this is a different one. You're using Node.js, this is a different one. We're trying to go on a more abstract level, and that should touch most of the serverless applications we know as of today. This has been great, but not yet fantastic. What was missing in this space was we noticed that most customers were trying to do this checks or these reviews. And one of the pieces that were missing was, I'm trying to apply CI/CD automation testing that you're describing to me, or I'm trying to add distributed tracing. We are not interested in only enabling distributed tracing, but how you instrument your code using centralized logging and structured logging, so you can make use of analytics tools to know exactly where the problem is. So these were very specific to application runtime and not so much about the infrastructure bits. And because it's application, every language does it slightly different. Some applications will require certain frameworks. Other applications would have to do it by hand. So this variance and this disconnection led us to create what we call Lambda Powertools. The Lambda Powertools is available in Python today and Java, and we just launched TypeScript in beta, and soon, I guess this year, we will have .NET as well. The idea behind Lambda Powertools is taking those practices in the serverless lens and make it easier for you to adopt them without breaking a sweat. We started with the observability pieces, the operational pieces like tracer, metrics, and logger, and then we kept going, adding more and more and more as the community were helping. There are tons of people helping build this thing. It's not just us. And the idea is that you can add each of those utilities as you need them, as opposed to have to use all of them at once. So if I were to take this for a spin, because of the time and because I don't know how much my internet, the new internet is going to hold, I've already deployed a simple application. I basically just did some init using some CLI to deploy an application, a hello world. And I'm going to be modifying this hello world to show you how one of the core features of Lambda Powertools look like. So let me know if I need to zoom in more. I did one more zoom, but if you're not seeing, just let me know afterwards. What this application is doing is, from the basic hello world template, is we have a /hello, and we have a /hello / any particular dynamic name. So think like hello Lessa, hello Heitor, you name it. This application per se, it's very simple. We're just printing the event as it comes, and we're just returning hello world. We're not yet dealing with different routes. If we were to deal with the different routes today without Lambda Powertools, we would have to start doing things like, this is a resource, and this has to be hello, and do something, and for instance, and event HTTP method, let's say, get, and this can kind of become tricky, and it's easy to get into a situation where you're missing certain parameters, you're probably doing some error-prone error handling and things like this. How does that look like in Lambda Powertools? If I were to simply send a request right now, I should see a hello world as it's supposed to have. In the background, to make it quicker, I have my logs being shown, so you can see I'm printing that log as it comes, so I can see /hello, and it was a get exactly as it's supposed to be. In the background, I also have some sync, so as soon as I make a change into the file, it should automatically deploy very fast, so we can kind of see this iteratively. How does it look like? So first thing, I'm going to try to import Lambda Powertools. So I'm going to do these three things first. I'm going to import logger, tracer, and metrics. So if I were to do tracer, logger, metrics, and let's see, uppercase. If we do like this, then we already started well. This is exactly what I needed to do the very basics first. So if I wanted to do something like, I want to start with structure logging. Just by initializing the logger, I would have a log in JSON already. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I want to inject the Lambda context into the log. So next time I log, it should automatically see a structure log in JSON now. But because we're using API Gateway, I want to get the API request ID into my log so I can have a correlation ID as well. So what I would do is I would import, again, on the login side, and we have a correlation path. So in this case, we can just say correlation ID path, and we autocomplete with, we're using API Gateway REST, but it could be ALB, AppSync, or in fact, it could actually be anything that's a JSON James path, anything that's a JSON expression. So I could say that my request is coming from a header called X request ID, for instance. So I could do that too. But for now, let's focus on the basics, and then we can kind of customize as we please. So this alone will automatically gives us information. Like if I try to do logger.info.event, for instance, now, let's see how that looks like. I think it's already synced. So if I try to do a hello again, I should now see in my logs. Let me just, so you can easily see it. I trust the internet, it will work. It should. So look at the difference now. I'm gonna copy and paste this so it's easier for you to see it. It's a lot more information now, just by initializing our logs, and we can easily trace now that information anywhere. Could be Cloudwatch logs, could be Logly, could be Datadog, could be anything. Notice that we now have additional information. We have the name of our service, which is in our environment variables. We have whether that's a cold start or not. We have detailed information about this function, whether the function name, memory, ARM, and stuff like that. We also have the correlation ID, which I just promised to you is coming from API gateway, and we inject that there. We also have the X-ray trace ID, which allows us to have the same ID everywhere too, and it helps us to use all the AWS services in terms of integration. And that log event is exactly the same under message now. And we have location, where exactly that came from. This is just a logger. There's a lot more information we can do. Sampling logs, like dynamically adjust to debug on a percentage of the requests that are coming in. And there's a lot more to it. But for now, let's just stick to the basics. The next one we can do is we can use, I'm going to use a separate one. We can use metrics. So metrics are essentially using, actually not clear logs, log metrics. Let me go over here. What I can do in my logs, for instance, I could say metrics.add metric, and I can say the name, it's going to be a hello event, for instance, or successful hello event. And then we can say the unit, that's a challenge. How would you know what Cloudwatch metrics support? They could be count, it could be count like this, you never know. So in this case, and many other cases in Powertools, we know all these common struggles, and we already provide you with an answer to it as much as we can. So if I were to go to metrics, import metric unit, I can now know exactly what Cloudwatch supports, and I can just do as I please. I could say value equals to 1, and then the next invocation, I should be able to see this metric in Cloudwatch async with no performance impact. For now, let's just not do this, and I'm just gonna keep, I just want the Cloudwatch metric that if it is a cold start, I want to be in there. So that we already handled it. The next one I wanna do is I wanna trace this execution. So I want to make sure that this execution, once it runs, I should be able to see in X-ray. So let's wait for this to sync. It's just building the code now, done. So if I try again, I'll try a few times just in case. And if I go to X-ray, actually I already had it opened. It doesn't matter. And that's gonna take a while. Let's say 1 minute. I see a few requests that I did. If I were to click in any, let's say this one here, I should see that information already without changing too much in my code. I see that it was a request coming from an API gateway, went from a Lambda function, and I have some, let me just try to zoom in for you, zoom out actually. I have something called the invocation, and I have some common conventions so you know exactly what part of the code was traced. So I can see that the name of my function is called Lambda handler, that's my entry point, because I have this hash. And if I click in here, I look at metadata, I have the response automatically captured. If it was an exception, I should also be able to get that. And I also have additional annotations which act as a key value to allow you to filter those traces, those requests, so I can have cold start and service, for instance. This is just the beginning. Let's do something better than this. One thing we can do now, actually, let me just skip that one piece for now, is I have in my request a /hello and a /hello something. I don't want to keep doing multiple if and else. I want this to be more seamless. It could be a dictionary, it could be something else. We have something for this called event handler. So the event handler, what it does is, let me just get this one here. It's similar to the other utilities. I can just do API gateway resolver, and then within here, I can use decorators to annotate which part exactly in my code I'm going to handle this route. So I can say both are get, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, both are get. So if I just do app.get and I say this function is hello, and I can do exactly the same, except that I no longer need just JSON. I no longer need a bunch of things. So I can just remove this piece now. In fact, I can even remove this line. If I always wanted to do this for debugging purpose only, I can say log event true. So now one last line. And because I need to do the routing resolution to know which function I should go, I need to resolve this event that's coming. So all I need to do now is up.
Heitor, sorry, I have to cut you off, but there's like a strange effect on the screen that like you changed the tab a couple of times, and now we can see the screen is kind of chopped in a way. So I can more or less see what you're showing, but it's not perfect.
Oh,
Can I?
okay.
I will maybe remove your screen share, and we try again and see if it fixes it. All right?
Sure.
Because like it was just distracting to look at. Nobody mentioned it in
I'm
the
sorry.
chat, but I'm being proactive here.
No
Okay,
problem. Thank you.
so I removed the. Still the same thing. Can you like stop
hang on a second.
sharing and then share again? Maybe that's that.
Yeah, I can try to use a 5G if that makes, maybe try, maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if it's internet or StreamYard being naughty. Bruno is saying wrap the text, but we had some bits from the site as well, so it wasn't just the VS Code being weird. Okay, got it. I think that fixed it. And if I didn't, I will pipe up again. I'm sorry to have disturbed your flow, but
no problem.
all right.
Okay.
See you later.
Let me no problem. Let me take a step back. What I was trying to show, I'm not sure which part, when did it start to show an issue, but I'm gonna walk you through the code. So let me just finish this real quick. I will say that this is gonna be a hello. So what we were doing before, if you couldn't follow, is we initially imported tracer logger, tracer, and metrics. We initialize that, and then we run a request to see how that would look like in X-ray, in traces, in logging, and metadata, and things like this. This is also on GitHub, by the way. I'm going to show you on GitHub in a second. And what we are doing now, what we're doing the last 5 minutes, in case the screen was a bit buggy or blurry, is we imported something called Event Handler. We have this for both REST APIs, so API Gateway REST, API Gateway HTTP, and also ALB. And we also have that for AppSync in the GraphQL space. So what the resolver does is going to be annotating functions that are going to be acting as my route. So if you're coming from frameworks like Django, Flask, and things alike, you're going to feel at home here. Or Chalice as well for AWS. And the last piece I was trying to do to show you how it would look like is I don't have any idea how to route the request until I receive the event. So it has to happen at runtime. So what I'm doing is I'm saying resolve this particular event and this particular Lambda context. And this allows me to have access to that particular event. So I can get the body as JSON, the body as decoded in case it's a binary, the headers, HTTP methods, or query strings, or any other methods that can make it easier for me to manipulate that data in ways we already know. And this, by the way, was contributed by a person called Michael Brewer. He did pretty much all the work. So let's try this now and see if this works. And if it does, we can try to change, let's say this to hello universe. So I'm gonna go back to the watch. It's building for me and done. So if I try again, I should see hello universe. Not found. I see what's not found because I have a hello slash and not just a hello. So if I hello now, works. So if I go to my logs, everything else should continue to run with the additional log events. Nothing else changed for that purpose. If I now do exactly the same for, let's say hello you, I now have that name of that person. So I can do This is going to be a string because it's a browser. So I can say, for instance, that this.
It's me again.
Oh no.
I hate the voice. Sorry. It's a little bit better, but it hasn't been fixed. And Paul
Okay.
says perhaps it might work to only share the VS Code app window instead of the whole screen. Jose says, yeah, it seems the problem persists. Sometimes turning the camera off helps me when that happens. So how about we try? With only the sharing the app instead of the whole screen?
Let me you know what? Let me try 5G. Just to be triple sure.
Okay.
Hang on a second with me. Let me switch.
Uday also says in the chat that it's possibly internet issue. I hope it's something that can be fixed and not just my tool being naughty and failing me when I'm in need. Paul says, thank you for being proactive. Thank you, Paul. You seem to have something nice to say to every occasion like that.
How does it work now? Any better?
I mean, you look great. You always did. It's the screen that's misbehaving. Okay. So let's try the share and hope for a good result. It wouldn't be a live stream if something didn't go bad. So we are prepared. Nerves of steel. Okay.
Yeah, happens.
I don't know.
So Paul, you were seeing that issue before, and also a few others. How is that looking like now? So this is on the 5G now, no Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, I can see a little bit of your browser peering through the VS Code. Is it already the sharing the app, or is it the whole screen? I understand that sharing the whole screen is not perfect because you have to switch a lot, yeah?
Yeah, hang on. But it's okay. I can stick with the Visual Studio Code only. Let's see if that's any better.
Looks okay for now. Let's try to move around a little bit. I'm hoping that this is the last time I have to make this interruption.
No problem.
It's also heartbreaking to me. Okay, cool. See you in a moment.
Paul, how is it looking like now for people in the chat? Can you see it now? Is it still blurry? 50%? I'm actually zooming 75%, so okay, all good. I'll try again. I promise next month I should have fiber in my new place. I'm living in the countryside now, so I don't have my 1 gigabyte internet as I used to. So bear with me. Okay. I was showing you that we can have a routing function now just by annotating with that .get, .post, anything we like. And we just added a new one now called /hello and that particular name. And because I do this, because this is coming from the path and not a query string, this will automatically be injected into my function as a string in this case. And then I can simply do as I please. So if I try to do another request and try to say Natalia, for instance, let's see, works. So if I try Alec or try anybody else, it should be able to work. The idea here is that it should be much easier for you to do these things and not having to go to back and forth with the documentation for a lot of things. And this is just the basics of Lambda Powertools. There's a lot more into it. I can act, like I mentioned before, I could even say, if I want to have access to the query strings, I should be able to say current event, get a specific query string, a specific header, insensitive or not, or all of them at once. Give me only the JSON body. There's a lot of methods, a lot of stuff in here to make your life easier. When do you go from here? So this is just the basics of the Lambda Powertools, yet super powerful. You can prototype an application in so much faster now, in record time. I can do this in seconds as opposed to weeks now. This is the main page of the Lambda Powertools in the GitHub. This is available under AWS Labs. AWS Lambda Powertools dash the runtime. It's going to be one for Python, one for Java, and one for TypeScript. The Python one has been the longest, so you're going to see more features. We go from, let me just zoom in a bit. We also have a tutorial if you want to do exactly like I just did, but in more details. So if you're new to Lambda Powertools, there's an example on going from scratch, one feature at a time, why this is the case, what's the value in it, and yada, 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 and what you could do next. We also have the roadmap in a central place and more features in there. If I were to go, for instance, on one of the most popular features is batch processing. If you are using SQS for queuing mechanisms, DynamoDB streams for doing data change capture, for instance, or if you're trying to do kinesis for telemetry or any sort of a stream-based processing, what this does is, in the same vein or the same nature of using a decorator, you initialize a batch processor. So say event type.sqs, kinesis, it doesn't matter. You define a function that will receive a record at a time. We will automatically do the typing for you, and you should be able to autocomplete everything else, plus a few utilities like I just showed you for API gateway, also for upsync and so forth. And then you add a specific decorator to when the requests come in from SQS, kinesis, etc. We take the entire batch, we call your function one at a time, and then at the response, you basically return it. What this means to you is if there's any partial failure, and that's part of the serverless lens best practices, we will be able to catch that particular failure and return to SQS kinesis and say, only these records failed. Everything else, carry on. This means you don't necessarily have to retry those particular messages that succeeded. Then we can go from validation of those payloads. We have event source data classes. We have idempotency. We have a parser, feature flags. We have JSON, James path to handle JSON differently as it comes. There's a lot more here. This is one of my favorites. Let me show you the last part of the presentation, is idempotency. Imagine you have a request that came, say for a payment or ingesting loyalty or processing an order. Sometimes your downstream backend cannot process an order more than once or something more than once. Because if it is, you don't want to charge your customers more than twice or refund your customers more than twice. So what this does, it follows the best practices from Amazon Builders Library and incorporates into a utility that all you need to do is you import idempotency, a persistence layer. At the moment, we use DynamoDB, but we're looking to add Redis as well. And the function called idempotent. And it works for Lambda handlers and also from any synchronous functions available in Python. What we do is you say, I'm going to initialize my persistence layer, in this case, DynamoDB, and I'm going to create a configuration for this idempotency. So I'm going to have to say where in my payload that I'm receiving is unique. If I send a request twice and for instance, and the user ID for an authorization is the same, and the body of the payload is exactly the same, then I know that the request was retried more than once. And we use caching memory. It's disabled by default because we don't know how much memory you have available and how many requests you receive concurrently. Once you configure these two pieces, the storage layer where we're going to store the idempotency tokens, and the configuration, how to handle these things, where exactly in the payload, you just do this. You do exactly the same as the other parts of Powertools. You wrap with a decorator, and the next time the request comes in, we go to DynamoDB, save the request in there. If the request comes again, we return it directly from memory or from DynamoDB if you don't use that. All the hard pieces of what if I receive multiple requests at the same time? What if the payload slightly change? What if I have a timeout? Or what if I have X? We handle all these things. If you are curious about these things in general, we have a part of the documentation called idempotency request flow. We have all of these things documented. We spend a lot of time in the documentation of Powertools. There's still so much work that we have to do, yet it's not perfect. But in every part of the documentation, you should always see a getting started, say you never used this before, first time using this utility, advanced, you already know how to use or you have edge cases. And then lastly, how do I test my code? Now that I just added Power Tools, maybe my unit test would change. Maybe I want to use ports and adapters, you name it. So we always try to document those things in here. I could go on and show you more logs and show you more pieces, but that should be a quick introduction to where we are with Power Tools, why we created, and where we're going. There's still a lot more features to add, circuit breakers, more documentation, and potentially in the future, once we have more time, start describing what V2 would look like and hear from the community what are the features that we should add in version 2 and packet size, yada, yada, yada. I tried to make this as fast as I could because I know we're past the time, but I hopefully that gave you a good idea what it is. Apologies for the internet connection issue. I hope I made up for it a bit. And thank you everyone for coming. And more importantly, thank you, Natalia, for helping hosting all these things and emceeing all of it. I know how hard it is.
Oh my. Thank you very much. I am back, Heitor, this time with no bad news. This time to thank you for your wonderful expertise. No worries about the technical issues at all. We live, we learn. So let's see if we have some questions. We do. I have a specific question from John. John is asking, does Lambda Powertools support Cloudwatch alarms, or what is the best way to create alarms?
We don't do alarms because that's on the infrastructure side. In Lambda Powertools, we separate runtime and infrastructure. We want you to use the infrastructure tooling you prefer the most. It could be CDK, it could be serverless framework, it could be Cloudwatch.js, it could be SAM, it could be anything. So you have to create those alarms within that infrastructure. If you need guidance on what sort of alarms you create, in the first question of Lambda Powertools, Well-Architected Serverless Lens, in the operational pillar, we ask you whether you know which alarms you create. And if you don't, we give you, I think, nearly 40 suggestions on here's where to start at the very least. So it's there. But no, we don't cover in Lambda Powertools for now.
All right. Everybody wants to see the GitHub.
Yes, it
is.
Let me send you the link so you can send to people.
Yes, thank you very much. Question from Uday. I think the last one for today. We still have the raffle announcement to make, and then we can go home. Uday is asking, any timelines on .NET Power Tools?
Not that I can say. At the moment, we're working hard to try to get this in the first semester. That's the best I can say. We still have people working hard onto this. At the moment, the main, it's not a team behind Lambda Power Tools at the moment. We have different people, different volunteers across AWS trying to get this out. That's why we have different feature parity, and we also have different timelines. So .NET, it's almost there. We just need to make sure we have the performance right, so it doesn't impact your application. But once it's out, it will be in beta first because we need to hear your feedback. But you will have, at the very least, the tracer, the metrics, and the logger, which I'm actually looking at the docs now, and I wish I could show you.
Very cool. What else? Well, there's a lot going on in the chat. Alex is being a joker. I think I can say bye to you, Heitor. And yeah, I was looking forward to chatting with you again. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much again. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, and now we are on to the last part of the meetup, which is the raffle announcements. Let me add my screen here. So yeah, I put all the names that were entered in the Typeform through a randomizer tool. I have recorded my screen while doing that, so that in case you want to see that the raffle is legit, you can ask me and I'll show you this recording. So yeah, on to the winners. The serverless applications with Node.js book goes to Aaron Vaca and Daniel Zivkovic. I think I've seen Daniel in the chat, actually. I think he said that he lives in Toronto. Next, a serverless architecture on AWS. This book goes to Stefanka and Kevin. Congratulations, very lucky. And the last prize of the meetup is the AppSync Masterclass, the course that we've been mentioning pretty much the entire meetup, and that goes to Lucas. Congratulations, Lucas. So yeah, please expect an email from me that will have the details on how to claim your prize. And with that, our meetup is coming to an end. I would like to thank the wonderful speakers, so Jan, Alex, and Heitor, for their great expertise, as well as Anil, so the main organizer of the Serverless Berlin meetup. And yeah, he made it all possible. Also, Radmila from Mining Publications, she has been a huge help when preparing for this meetup, so definitely deserves a big shout out. And finally, a big thank you to the audience as well. And I'm hoping to see you again very soon for the next Serverless Berlin meetup. And yeah, that's a wrap. Bye-bye.